There is a storm inside each of us. Anger, fear, grief, doubt. Emotions that rise like waves, crashing without warning, pulling us under. But what if the key to peace isn't in fighting the storm, but in learning how to stand still within it? For over 2,500 years, the teachings of the Buddha have offered something timeless, a path to inner calm, to emotional freedom, to clarity amidst chaos. Not through escape, not through denial, but through presence. In this journey, we will explore 7 powerful teachings that won't just inform you, they will transform you. Not someday, now. Take a breath, let the stillness in, and begin. Number 1. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Close your eyes and take a breath. Not just any breath, but the kind of breath that pulls you back from the chaos of the world and plants you firmly in this moment. A breath that reminds you you are alive. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. And in this breath, we arrive at the first truth that has the power to reshape the way you experience every emotion. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. These are not just words, they are a mirror, a call to return to the root of all experience, your own mind. Before you act, you think. Before you speak, you feel. And before you feel, there is a thought. Subtle, invisible, but immensely powerful. The world you see outside is a reflection of the world inside. If your mind is in turmoil, even beauty will feel distant. But if your mind is at peace, even pain can be held with grace. What you think, you become. The Buddha did not say this as a poet. He said it as a physician of the soul, because what you become is not determined by your past, nor by your status, nor by the judgment of others. What you become is shaped, moment by moment, by the quality of your mind. And yet, how often are we slaves to that mind? We believe every fearful story it tells. We obey every emotional impulse it throws at us. We react without reflection and call it living. But the Buddha saw what most people never pause long enough to see. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. You are not the anger. You are the space in which anger appears. You are not the sadness. You are the witness that feels it. You are not the chaos. You are the calm that sees clearly through it all. A mind untrained is like a wild horse. It will drag you wherever it pleases, and you will call it fate. But a mind trained, through awareness, compassion, and clarity, becomes the most powerful tool of liberation. And so we begin not by changing the world, but by changing how we see the world. You may think, I am anxious, but the truth is, anxiety is present in me. You may think, I am overwhelmed, but in reality, overwhelm is visiting my awareness. Do you feel the difference? Language reveals how deeply we identify with our emotions, but emotions are not your identity. They are passing visitors. Storms, yes, but storms that pass. And you are the sky. There is a story from the Buddha's life. A man came to him, furious, trying to provoke him with insults. The Buddha, unmoved, said calmly, if someone offers you a gift, and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man said, to the one who offered it. Then the Buddha said, I do not accept your anger. Can you see the power in that? This was not indifference, it was mastery. Mastery of the mind. The realization that no one can plant suffering in your mind unless you give them permission. And that permission, whether given in anger, jealousy, despair, or pride, begins with one small lapse in awareness. One moment when you forget, you have a choice. Your power lies in the pause, that sacred space between stimulus and response, where you can breathe, where you can return to yourself, where you can choose not to react, but to respond from clarity. What you think, you become. And if you constantly think, I am not enough, then you become the shadow of who you are meant to be. But if you begin to think, I am learning, I am healing, I am present, then you begin to become that light. This is why mindfulness is not just a technique, it is a revolution, a quiet, invisible revolution of reclaiming the throne of your own consciousness, to no longer let fear rule you, to no longer let the past imprison you, to no longer let emotions hijack you. Emotions will come, that is human, but whether they master you or move through you, that is your path, that is your practice. Observe the mind. Watch it like a monk watching the river. Not controlling, not judging, simply witnessing. And in that witnessing, a miracle happens. Your emotions lose their power to possess you. They become information, not identity. Anger becomes a message. Fear becomes a teacher. Grief becomes a tribute to what you loved. And joy becomes less about conditions and more about clarity. Because when the mind is free, when it is no longer consumed by every passing thought, it rests, and in that resting, there is joy, not the joy of stimulation, but the joy of simplicity, the joy of being alive and knowing it. So ask yourself gently, what are you becoming? With every thought, you are practicing a version of yourself. Is it the version you wish to be? Is it the version that brings peace to others? Or is it a shadow built from unconscious emotion? You cannot change what you don't see. So the first step is to see, not with the eyes, but with awareness. See how the mind clings, see how it judges, see how it fears, and fights, and fantasizes, and then gently return to breath, to presence, to what is real now. The Buddha taught not from theory but from direct experience. He sat under the Bodhi tree and saw the mind in all its layers, from its cravings to its freedom, and in seeing, he became free. You don't need a tree. You need stillness. You need honesty. You need courage. The courage to look within, because the true battlefield is not outside, it is in the unseen realm of thought and reaction. Win there, and you win everywhere. So let this teaching be your companion. Let it echo in moments of stress, conflict, and sorrow. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. If you think like a victim, you live like one. If you think with awareness, you walk with peace. If you think with compassion, you shine with wisdom. Let that be your path. Let that be your transformation. Let that be your freedom. Number 2. You suffer because you cling. Let go and be free. What is the root of all your suffering? Is it the people who wronged you? The dreams that failed? The love that vanished? The future that never came? Or is it something deeper? The Buddha said, "You only lose what you cling to." In these few words lies one of the most profound truths of human existence. You suffer not because life is cruel, but because the mind refuses to let go. It clings to pleasure, to approval, to identity, to control. And the tighter you cling, the more it hurts when life in its impermanence inevitably shifts. The truth is simple. All things are impermanent. Everything you love, everything you fear, everything you believe to be stable will change. That is not a punishment. That is the nature of life. And yet, instead of dancing with change, we resist it. We build walls, we tighten our grip, we demand permanence in a world made of wind, and so we suffer. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering. Not desire itself, but attachment to desire. The refusal to accept what is, the insistence that life conform to the image you have painted in your mind. Look closely. You are not suffering because someone left. You are suffering because your mind keeps holding on to what was. You are not suffering because you lost an opportunity. You are suffering because your mind refuses to accept that loss. It is not life that is cruel. It is your resistance to life that creates pain. But here is the liberation. What you resist will persist, but what you embrace will transform. To let go does not mean to give up. It means to stop clinging, to stop trying to control what cannot be controlled, to surrender, not in weakness but in wisdom. A leaf does not resist the wind, it surrenders, and in that surrender it dances. You too can dance with change. You too can soften the grip of your mind and learn to flow, to let go of stories of control, of needing things to be different before you allow peace. Peace is not found in perfection. Peace is found in permission. The permission to feel what you feel without clinging to it. But we cling, don't we? We cling to who we used to be. We cling to who we want others to be. We cling to the illusion that if we hold on tighter, we won't be hurt again. But clinging doesn't protect you. It cages you. Imagine holding a burning coal, refusing to drop it because you believe you need it to feel safe. And yet the longer you hold it, the deeper it burns into your skin. Letting go isn't losing, it's healing. It's not forgetting. It's choosing not to be imprisoned by the memory. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are the presence in which all things rise and fall. To live like this is to live like the lotus, rooted in mud, yet rising clean, untouched by the dirt. To be in the world, but not bound by it. To experience love, loss, joy and sorrow, yet not be enslaved by any of them. How do you begin to let go? You begin with awareness. You begin by seeing the places where you're holding on too tightly. The expectations, the attachments, the should. You see them, and you name them. Not to judge, but to release. When you catch your mind replaying the past, pause. When you notice yourself needing approval, breathe. When you feel fear gripping your heart, smile gently and whisper, "This too can be let go." Letting go is not an event, it is a practice. Every breath is a chance to release. Every exhale, an invitation to soften. The Buddha once held up a flower and said nothing. His disciple Mahakashyapa smiled. That smile was the transmission of the teaching. Words were not needed. The flower would wither, but the smile, the understanding would remain. This is the second teaching. Freedom is not found in clinging. Freedom is found in letting go. Let go of needing life to be fair. Let go of needing closure from someone who never gave it. Let go of needing to be understood by everyone. Let go of needing to be right. Let go and you will feel the ground beneath your feet again. You will breathe deeper. You will see clearer. You will return to yourself. Not the self that is tangled in expectation. Not the self that is defined by pain. But the self that is open, vast, awake, like the sky. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to know what's next. You don't have to hold on. You can be here, now, present, enough. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care without attachment. You love without fear. You act without needing a reward. This is the power of the awakened mind, to engage with life fully, but with open hands. So when sorrow visits, let it sit beside you. When joy arrives, welcome it without chaining it to stay. And when it is time to move forward, do so with gratitude, not regret. This is not easy, but this is peace. And the path begins, not with striving, but with surrender. Because you have already tried controlling your emotions. You have already tried denying, suppressing, distracting, and still, they come back. But what if you stopped running? What if you simply allowed them? What if you let go of needing your emotions to change, and instead, let them teach you? Every moment is a teacher. Every emotion is a message. Every attachment is an opportunity to return to stillness. So breathe, and say gently, with love to yourself, I let go of what no longer serves me. I let go of the need to control. I let go of the story that says I am not whole. And in that letting go, you don't lose yourself. You find yourself. Not the self created by stories, but the self that was always there beneath them. Still, free, awake. Let that be your path forward. Let it begin. Number 3. Awareness is the path to transformation. What you feel, you must first see. There is a sacred space within you, a place untouched by noise, unshaken by chaos, unchained by the storms of emotion. It is not far. It is not hid. It is here, beneath the surface, beneath the stories, beneath the endless noise of thought. But most people never reach it. Not because it's far away, but because they never learn to look. The Buddha said, "The mind is everything, but the mind without awareness is like a blind painter coloring your life without ever seeing the canvas." You cannot heal what you do not see. You cannot change what you refuse to look at. And so the third teaching is this: awareness is the path to transformation. What you feel, you must first see. Not as an idea, not as a judgment, but as it is raw, living, breathing within you. We live in a world of distractions, a world that teaches you to run from discomfort, to hide from your fear, to mask your sadness, to scroll past your loneliness. But emotions, like wounds, do not disappear when ignored. They fester, they deepen, they shape your decisions without your knowing. And soon, your life is no longer lived. It is reacted. You say, "I don't know why I feel this way." But the truth is, you haven't watched closely enough. Awareness is not simply thinking. It is not analyzing, fixing, or labeling. Awareness is presence. Still, open, non-judging presence. To sit with yourself as you are, without needing to be different. To breathe into your discomfort, not to push it away, but to understand its shape, because every emotion has a voice. And if you listen, really listen, you will hear what it's been trying to tell you. Fear may whisper, "I don't want to be hurt again." Anger may cry, "I wasn't protected when I needed it." Grief may sob, "I loved and now it's gone." These are not enemies. These are parts of you longing to be seen. And awareness is how you see them, not from the mind, but from the heart. When the Buddha taught Vipassana, the practice of insight meditation, he was not offering a method of escape. He was inviting his followers to look deeply into breath, into sensation, into thought, into pain, and to simply observe. Because in observation, without reaction, something miraculous happens. The emotion begins to unravel. The knot begins to loosen. The story begins to dissolve, but only if you stay, not run, not suppress, not entertain the next distraction, but stay. Awareness is not passive. It is the most courageous act you can perform. To stay present with your suffering, that is the beginning of freedom. Think of a child crying in the corner, afraid and alone. What does that child need? Not judgment, not silence, not distraction. The child needs you to kneel beside them, to hold them, to say, "I see you." And your awareness is the gentle presence that holds space, without needing to fix, without needing to run. This is how transformation begins, not by force, not by shame, but by presence. So many people ask, "How do I stop feeling this?" But the real question is, have you allowed yourself to fully feel it? Emotions, when fully felt with awareness, naturally move. They are energy in motion. They rise, peak, and fall like waves. But only if you don't dam the river with avoidance. Avoidance is the true prison. You avoid the feeling, it grows stronger. You avoid the thought, it grows louder. You avoid the pain, and it becomes your personality. But when you turn and face it, nakedly, bravely, gently, it begins to lose its power over you. This is why awareness is not a step. It is the entire path. It is not just something to practice on the cushion. It is something to bring into your conversations, your reactions, your moments of silence and solitude. To notice, to breathe, to respond, instead of react. Ask yourself, when anger rises, can you pause and notice its heat? When jealousy stirs, can you feel its constriction? When sadness swells, can you sense the weight behind your chest? Not to fix, not to escape, but simply to see. And in seeing, fully, wholly, tenderly, you begin to heal. This is the power of the present moment, not because it is peaceful, but because it is real. And what is real can be met. What is met can be known. And what is known can be transformed. Awareness brings light into the darkness, not by fighting the dark, but by simply being light. So do not underestimate your breath. Do not dismiss the stillness. These are sacred tools. In a single breath, taken with full awareness, lies more healing than 1,000 words. Because in that breath you return to yourself, not the self buried in fear, shame and reaction, but the self that sees clearly. The Buddha did not ask his followers to believe blindly. He asked them to look into suffering, to look into impermanence, to look into the mind itself, and from that deep seeing, to wake up, not tomorrow, now. So when the next wave of emotion comes, and it will, meet it not with resistance but with curiosity. Ask, what are you here to teach me? What story are you telling? What truth lies underneath you? And then, listen, with kindness, with space, with stillness, and you will begin to see, truly see, that the emotion is not the problem. The problem is the unconsciousness, the automatic reaction, the belief that this is who I am. But you are not your emotions. You are the awareness that watches them come and go, like clouds across a vast sky. Be that sky, be that watcher, and your emotions, even the darkest ones, will become allies, messengers, doors, each one a teacher, each one a step on the path. Because awareness does not eliminate pain, it transforms your relationship to it, from resistance to recognition, from fear to friendship, from suffering to stillness. So return, not once, but over and over. Return to this breath, return to this moment, return to this awareness, and you will remember, you are not broken, you are becoming, and awareness is how you grow. Number 4, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Sit with this truth for a moment. Pain is a part of life. But suffering, that is where your freedom lies. This is the 4th teaching. No human being escapes pain. Not even the Buddha himself. He saw sickness, old age and death before his awakening. He felt the pangs of hunger, the weight of grief, the sting of human loss. Pain, he discovered, is not the enemy. It is part of the human condition. It is the price of having a body, of having a heart, of being alive. But suffering is what we add to pain. It is the mental story, the resistance, the identification, the replay, the grasping for how things should have been instead of how they are. Pain says this hurts. Suffering says this should not be happening to me. Pain says something is lost. Suffering says I cannot live without it. Pain is a moment, suffering is a cycle. The Buddha taught, the arrow of pain will strike, but we add a second arrow, the arrow of suffering, when we cling, when we resist, when we identify. This is what separates the awakened from the unaware. Not the absence of pain, but the absence of unnecessary suffering. Let's pause here. Think of a moment in your life when something hurt deeply. Perhaps the loss of someone you loved. The pain was real. The ache in your chest, the tears that came uninvited. That was human. But the mind didn't stop there. It replayed. It imagined what could have been. It created blame, guilt, resentment. And suddenly, you weren't just experiencing pain. You were living inside it. You were weaving it into your identity. But what if, just what if you could learn to feel pain without becoming it? This is not denial. This is mastery. It begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can this teach me? That shift opens a door to wisdom, to compassion, to resilience. Because pain has something to show you, always. In loss, it shows you what you loved. In failure, it shows you what you tried for. In heartbreak, it shows you where you dared to open. Pain is not the problem, your relationship to it is. We are taught to escape pain, to numb it, drown it, avoid it at all costs. But avoidance only deepens the wound. It covers it in silence, in addiction, in denial. And wounds kept in the dark do not heal. The Buddha's path was different. He did not run from suffering. He walked straight into it, sat beneath a tree with his own fear and pain, and looked it in the eye. And in that looking, in that stillness, he awakened. What if you did the same? What if you stopped running from grief, from loneliness, from fear? What if you met your pain like an old friend who has traveled a long road to speak to you? You don't have to enjoy it. You don't have to like it. But you can sit with it. You can breathe through it. You can listen. Because pain, when fully felt, softens. And suffering, when understood, dissolves. You are not weak for feeling pain. You are human. But you are not bound to suffer endlessly because of it. That is the liberation. Suffering grows when you resist what is. But peace comes when you accept radically, fully, tenderly, that this is what life is offering you now. Not forever. Not as punishment. Just now. So don't ask yourself how to escape the pain. Ask how to hold it with more love. When sorrow arrives, greet it with patience. When anger rises, meet it with inquiry. When despair lingers, sit with it, not as its prisoner, but as its witness. This is what the Buddha meant when he spoke of the noble truth of suffering. He wasn't condemning life, he was illuminating the path out of unnecessary torment. He saw clearly, there is suffering, there is a cause to suffering, there is an end to suffering, there is a way, the eightfold path to walk free from it. That path begins with understanding, not pushing pain away, not pretending it isn't there, but looking deeply into it and seeing that beneath the ache is impermanence, and beneath impermanence is freedom. Because even the worst moment of your life has passed, and here you are, breathing, still standing, still able to grow. That is the miracle. So the next time pain visits, don't shoot the second arrow. Don't judge yourself for hurting. Don't turn it into identitas. Don't write a tragic story around it. Instead, say gently, this is pain. This is the first arrow. It hurts, but I will not strike myself again with blame, fear, or resistance. And then breathe. Breathe into the ache. Breathe into the tightness. Breathe into the space beneath it. Because every pain has a rhythm. Every sorrow has a cycle. And every wound has its wisdom. You are not meant to carry every burden forever. You are meant to feel and then to release. And the more you practice this, the more you will notice something extraordinary. The pain will still come, but it will not own you. The emotion will still rise, but it will pass through you like wind through a forest. You will still feel, but you will no longer drown. You will rise, not as someone who avoids pain, but as someone who no longer needs to suffer unnecessarily. This is not the end of feeling. This is the beginning of freedom. So let go of the second arrow. Lay it down. You have carried it long enough. Feel what is true, heal what is wounded, and walk forward, not untouched by pain, but unchained by it. That is the fourth teaching. Let it sink into your breath, your bones, your becoming. Because pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Number 5. Nothing is worth your peace. Guard it like a sacred flame. Pause for a moment. Breathe in, breathe out, and listen closely to the stillness beneath the others. There is something inside you that is untouched by the world, unmoved by praise or blame, unshaken by storms. It is your natural state, your inner peace. And yet, how often is it traded away? Traded for anger, traded for the need to be right, traded for validation, for revenge, for control. This leads us to the 5th teaching, a truth that glows like a flame in the darkness. Nothing is worth your peace. Guard it like a sacred flame. The Buddha once said, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." But what about the 1,000 things we think and say that steal peace away? Every day we are tempted to fight battles that are not ours, to engage in arguments that leave us drained, to chase applause that never satisfies, to defend ourselves against opinions that do not define us. And every time we react, without awareness, without stillness, we offer a piece of our peace to something temporary. But you must understand this. Your peace is not cheap. It is sacred. It is the ground from which wisdom blooms, from which love flows, from which clarity rises. Without peace, you cannot see clearly. Without peace, you react rather than respond. Without peace, you become noise in a noisy world. The Buddha taught that true strength is not found in conquering others, but in mastering yourself. He who is not angered by insult, who remains calm in chaos, he is the truly strong. So ask yourself, how easily do you give your peace away? To a harsh comment? To a past that can't be changed? To a future that hasn't happened yet? You must guard your peace, not by hiding from the world, but by standing rooted within it. Imagine your peace as a candle flame in the wind. The world will blow, harsh winds of criticism, disappointment, injustice. But your work is not to stop the wind. Your work is to protect the flame. That flame lives in your breath, in your ability to pause, in the space between impulse and response. Every reaction is a choice. Every trigger is a teacher. Let's be honest, you will be triggered. You will be misunderstood. You will face disrespect. You will experience injustice. But how you meet those moments, with fire or with presence, determines whether you become consumed or awakened. Here is what most people forget. You do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. Silence is not weakness. Stillness is not passivity. In fact, it takes far more strength to walk away than to retaliate. Because when you react from pain, you become that pain. But when you stay rooted in peace, you break the cycle. You do not pass on the poison, you transform it. This is why meditation is not an escape. It is training. Each breath you take in silence is a rehearsal for chaos. Each moment of mindfulness is a preparation for the storms of life. When someone pushes your buttons, don't just ask, "Why did they do this?" Ask, "Why is this still a button?" The world does not owe you peace. It will not rearrange itself to suit your serenity. But you can cultivate a mind that remains calm in the midst of fire. You can become the still water that reflects truth. You can become the mountain that does not flinch when the wind howls. This is not philosophy. It is practice, daily, moment by moment. When someone insults you, pause. When life frustrates you, pause. When fear rises, pause. In that pause you reclaim your power. You refuse to be a puppet of emotion. You return, again and again, to the only place peace can live within. Guarding your peace doesn't mean isolating from the world. It means entering the world differently, with eyes that see but do not cling, with ears that hear but do not absorb poison, with a heart that loves but does not lose itself in others' storm. The Buddha once told a parable. A man asked, "How do I find peace?" And the Buddha replied, "Remove I, that is ego. Remove want, that is desire. And all that remains is peace." Peace is not something you chase. It is something you uncover when the ego quiets, when desire softens, when you no longer fight reality. And so you must ask, what is truly worth disturbing my peace? A stranger's opinion, a temporary inconvenience, a fear that lives only in my imagination. If it's not worth your soul, it's not worth your reaction. This is not about apathy. This is about sovereignty, being rooted in yourself so deeply that no wind can uproot you, so that when emotion rises, you can bow to it without becoming it, so that when the world burns, your flame still glows from within. And make no mistake, your peace is your responsibility. Do not wait for the world to calm down. Do not depend on others to understand you. Do not condition your peace on outer perfection. You are the keeper of the flame. Tend it, protect it, honor it, because from that flame, everything else flows. Clarity, compassion, wisdom, joy. Peace is not the reward. Peace is the path. Walk it with presence, guard it with love, and live from it like a sacred vow. That is the fifth teaching. Let it live in your every breath, and let no one, no situation, no memory, no storm, take it from you again. Number 6. Respond. Don't react. The space between is where freedom lives. In the quiet space between stimulus and response, there is your life. A pause, a breath, a moment of stillness where you are no longer a prisoner of your past or a puppet of your emotions. It is here, in this sacred space, that your true power is found. The Buddha taught, "With our thoughts we make the world," but he also taught something more subtle, more immediate, and more urgent. We don't suffer because of what happens, we suffer because of how we respond. This is the 6th teaching. Respond, don't react. The space between is where freedom lives. Reactions are automatic. They come from habit, conditioning, fear. They arise like lightning, quick, impulsive, often regrettable. But responses are chosen. They come from clarity, from presence, from a place that sees, pauses, reflects, and then acts with wisdom. Most people live in reaction. Someone criticizes you, you defend. Someone ignores you, you spiral into self-doubt. You feel fear, you run. You feel anger, you attack. It's not your fault. This is how we were wired to survive. The nervous system reacts before the mind understands. The heart races before the breath slows. The body clenches before the soul can speak. But this wiring is not your destiny, because in every moment you can retrain the mind. You can expand the pause, you can stretch the space. And in that space, choose a new path. The Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. When you react, you grasp the coal. When you respond, you drop it. To respond is to step outside the chain of karma. It is to no longer pass on the pain that was passed to you. It is to break cycles, ancestral, habitual, societal, with presence. Let's look deeper. When someone triggers you, what is really happening? They have touched something inside you. A wound, a memory, a fear. Your body tightens, your breath shortens, your thoughts race. And then you speak. You slam a door. You withdraw. You explode. But in truth, that person did not cause your reaction. They revealed it. Your reaction was already there, waiting. The seed planted long ago, unhealed, unseen. This is why triggers are sacred. They show you where you are not yet free. They point to the places inside you, still seeking awareness, compassion, release. The work then is not to stop being triggered. The work is to become aware when you are. To notice the heat in the belly, the clenching in the jaw, the rush of adrenaline in the blood. To feel all of it and still not act from it. That is mastery. That is awakening. But how? How do you train yourself to respond instead of react? It begins with mindfulness. Not just on the meditation cushion, but in real life, where it counts. You walk into a difficult meeting. Pause. Breathe. Observe. You receive a harsh message. Don't reply yet. Just watch what arises. You feel overwhelmed. Instead of escaping, name it. This is overwhelm. Labeling is powerful. Not to control, but to create space. When you name it, you tame it. You shift from being inside the storm to witnessing the weather. And in that witnessing, a miracle occurs. You begin to choose. You choose not to yell. You choose not to escape. You choose not to blame. You choose to breathe. You choose to respond. Responses are slow. They come from the wise part of you, the part that's not afraid, not reactive, not ruled by the past. That part of you is always present. You just need to pause long enough to hear it. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff. Below is chaos, the storm of emotion. Reactivity is like jumping in. Response is like sitting on the edge, watching the waves, waiting for the calm. This doesn't mean you suppress how you feel. It means you hold space for what you feel, and then act with intention. Even the Buddha felt emotion. He felt compassion so deeply that it moved him to teach for 45 years. He felt grief when his disciples passed away. He felt concern for those caught in delusion, but he never let emotion cloud wisdom. Because wisdom was his compass, not ego. And that is your compass too. So the next time you feel yourself about to react, pause, place your hand on your heart, take one breath, then another, and ask, is this coming from fear or from truth? Is this what I want to give the world, or just what I want to get off my chest? Is this reaction worth my peace, or is silence more powerful right now? You'll know. Your body will tell you. Your breath will soften. Your heart will speak. That is the beauty of response. It carries the weight of wisdom. It speaks with love, not ego. It acts without regret. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Soon, people will feel it in your presence. They will sense the stillness behind your words, the clarity in your eyes, the calm in your tone. You will not just speak differently, you will live differently, because you are no longer a reactor. You are a responder, a conscious being in an unconscious world. This is your power, not to control everything, but to control your response to everything, and that changes everything. This is the sixth teaching. Let it echo in every pause you take, every breath you anchor, every silence you choose. Because between stimulus and response, between the hurt and the healing, the noise and the knowing, is a doorway. Step through it and walk free. Number 7. Everything changes. Embrace impermanence and find peace. Everything you know will change. Every emotion, every thought, every breath, every person you love, every moment of joy, every moment of pain. Nothing, absolutely nothing stays. This is not a reason to despair. This is the key to your liberation. The Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. This is the final teaching. Everything changes. Embrace impermanence and find peace. Most of our suffering comes from a deep desire for permanence. We want things to stay. We want joy to last forever. We want people to remain unchanged. We want life to bend to our expectations and freeze at its best moments. But life does not work that way. The Buddha saw this clearly, that the nature of all things is anicca, impermanence. Just as night follows day and seasons turn, so do our internal states. Emotions rise and fall. Love blooms and fades. Grief breaks and softens. Even anger, when left alone, burns bright and then flickers out. Yet we cling. We hold on to the joy, afraid it will leave us. We hold on to the pain, afraid it defines us. We hold on to identities, titles, memories, roles, building castles in sand and then weeping as the tide returned. But the Buddha did not weep. He let go. And in that letting go, he was free. To understand impermanence is to walk into the heart of existence and bow before its truth. Nothing belongs to you, not even your body, not even your mind. And that is not a curse. It is a sacred invitation to live fully, to love deeply, to appreciate now, because now is all you ever truly have. When you resist change, you suffer. You create friction between your expectations and reality. You rage against time. You fight the natural flow of life. But when you accept impermanence, everything softens. You begin to see sadness not as an enemy, but as proof that you cared. You begin to see the fading of joy not as a loss, but as a blessing you once held. You begin to see even endings as beginnings in disguise. A flower does not mourn the falling of its petals. It lets go gracefully. A tree does not scream at autumn. It turns golden and releases. Why then do we resist what nature so beautifully accepts? Because we forget. We forget that change is not just loss. It is renewal. We forget that impermanence is not just death. It is also birth. The child you once were had to dissolve so the adult could emerge. The pain you once carried had to break so healing could enter. The version of you from yesterday had to fall away so you could rise again today. To embrace impermanence is to become fluid, to no longer grip life with clenched fists, but to hold it with open palms, to let every experience move through you, teach you, shape you, and leave. And in that freedom, emotions become sacred guests. Joy visits you and you smile, knowing it may not stay. Sadness visits, and you welcome it too, knowing it is only passing through. This is the wisdom of the river, always moving, never the same, and yet always here. When you live this way, every moment becomes precious, because you are no longer living for someday. You are no longer waiting for forever. You are no longer fearing the end. You are here, awake, alive. Impermanence teaches gratitude. You begin to thank the people in your life more. You begin to savor your coffee. You begin to enjoy even the rain, because you know none of this will last. And that makes it even more beautiful. Imagine if you only had one day with someone you loved. Would you waste it being right? Would you spend it scrolling, arguing, regretting? Or would you cherish them? Impermanence sharpens our priorities. It pulls us out of the illusion of control and into the miracle of presence. This is what the Buddha offered, not eternal happiness, but eternal awakening. The understanding that peace does not come from grasping permanence, but from letting go into the river of life. You cannot stop the wave, but you can learn to surf. So when emotions come like a storm, know they too shall pass. When grief clutches your chest, know even this will transform. When joy lights your heart, let it shine, and let it go. Nothing is static, nothing is final, not even pain, not even you. And that is the gift, because if nothing is permanent, then every day, every breath, every sunrise is a chance to begin again. You are not the person you were yesterday, and you don't have to carry their story. You are a process, a becoming, a wave in motion. And peace is found when you stop trying to freeze the ocean and learn, instead, to ride its rhythm. So when you find yourself holding on too tightly, ask, what am I afraid to lose? What am I refusing to let change? Where am I fighting nature itself? And then, loosen the grip. Let the petals fall. Let the leaves turn. Let the moment be enough. You are not the owner of this life. You are its witness, its student, its lover. And when you walk in step with impermanence, you do not fear change. You dance with it. That is the seventh teaching. Let it settle in your soul. Because the secret to emotional freedom is not in controlling the storm, but in accepting that the storm is just passing through. Let this be your closing breath. The teachings are not separate. They are a circle, a return to presence, to stillness, to clarity, to peace. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not the emotion. You are the sky it passes through. So now, live like the awakened, not without emotion, but with awareness, with grace, with peace. Let every wave come, let every wave go, and remain still, whole.